Going on, guys? Austin Mechanic here, back at you with another YZ250 project. Today we are going to be draining the coolant. First thing is first, so we'll just take the bolt, the drain coolant bolt. I think a lot of you guys are familiar with it. And make sure you get a clean bucket that this can go in and start draining her. Now you want to make sure you get this thing out quickly. Okay, sorry about that. Probably couldn't see that, but now we're draining, like I said, into a clean bucket because you just want it to be clean. Now if you want this to go quicker, you can open up the cap and watch what happens. Boom, it just starts to go a little bit more fast. And before I make a huge mess, I'm going to tip this thing over, so I will be back, guys. This seems to work. Kind of jerry-rigged, but yeah, we're going out. We're flowing the coolant into the bucket. The reason I'm doing this is because the impeller, there's a seal under the impeller, and there's a weep hole. Now, when that impeller goes bad, or that seal goes bad, what happens is they incorporated the weep hole so that your coolant or your oil does not get into your, they don't contaminate each other. So if you're leaking out of the coolant weep hole, it means your seal is bad, and you want to get that fixed before it turns into the other seal going bad and then causing coolant to get in your oil. So I hope that makes sense. And when this thing's done, I'll make sure this is all drained out, and when this is done, then I can start phase 2, which is taking off the water pump, which is right here, these bolts, and as you can see, one has broken off. So that is not good. But when I take off the clutch cover, because I need to fix the clutch anyway, I can just go ahead and take off that that bolt anyway, and then put in a fresh new bolt. Anyways, enough talking. I'm going to be back when this is done. Okay, so I've been letting this thing drain for probably 2 hours. Just had some other stuff to do. It's still dripping a little bit from the hole that supposed to, but what I'm going to go ahead and do is just take off these other bolts. There should be, well, there was supposed to be 3 other bolts, but we only got 2 here. And then after I do this, I'm going to get to be able to see that seal a little bit better. And the seal behind this, behind the impeller, is what is going to be leaking. But to get to that, I'm going to go ahead and take off the full clutch cover. And I believe I don't have to take off the exhaust, thankfully, because that was a pain to get back on. I went ahead and ordered the other coil, and I think that's it. So, I'm going to go ahead and take off these 2 bolts, and I'll be back when the water pump is removed. Hopefully that's the worst of it. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this on camera here, but, oh yeah, it looks like it. Okay. So that's going to drain there. And it looks like, yeah, we've colored our impeller green. So now I'm going to go ahead, head over here, go and grab a small Phillips. I don't know if this is even going to work here with one hand. I doubt it. Okay, so that was that bolt. I go ahead and need to put that. Make sure you're organized here, because that's going to be the worst thing you could ever do if you aren't. Okay. This bad boy's just going to fall out like it's coming out. Come on. There we go. We're going to need to take off this whole clutch cover, like I was saying, so we can start. There's no bolt in the kickstand thing either, so just take that off. You're going to need to take off this bolt here, and then there should be a few bolts around the perimeter to take off. Now be careful here. I'm going to drain the oil first, because I know what's going to happen here. Oil is going to come out everywhere, and it's just going to be a mess, so I'm going to make it less of a mess but more of a hassle, so I'm just going to drain the oil from the bottom bolt, but to each their own, and do whichever way you like. Also, I'm going to go ahead and tip the bike to one side. Can't do that with the camera in the hand, but that will allow me to get all the extra coolant out. Okay, time to take out the oil. Already got the bolt loose, so this should be good. That's why I'm wearing the gloves, because I don't want the oil on my skin. And here we go. Hopefully I don't make a mess. Hopefully I lined up the bolt with the hole too. Okay, so yeah, I just cleaned the oil, or changed the oil, excuse me. And this is a very good sign. Reason being is there's no water getting into the oil from the impeller. There's two seals. One is so that it goes through the weep hole, it doesn't get into your oil, and the other one is so that the oil doesn't get into your, the oil doesn't get to your coolant. So this leads me to believe that there's one seal that's bad and not two. I'll probably be replacing both, but that's a good thing to note so that, you know, stuff isn't rusted inside or vice versa. The coolant is oil free. Awesome. So I'll be back when this is done draining. You're going to need to take off the exhaust because your power valve linkage is connected to the cover. So we're going to have to do that. Anyways, I'll do that off camera, but there's a bolt right here, a bracket right here, and a bracket right here. So three things, but it's got to be done. So I'll be back. Now, got that done. That was easy. Very easy. What we're going to do next is we're going to take off these 4 bolts here, and this is your power valve. So you're going to need to take this off because obviously this is connected to the clutch cover. And these bolts are not actually factory. So I can tell there has been some work done to this previously, as well as, you know, there's just broken bolts. Stupid things that people just, you know, over tighten them and break them off, which is really kind of unfortunate because sometimes they're almost impossible to get off. And yeah, but like I said, this thing's coming off. So next thing I'm going to do is take off this bolt right here and take off these 4 bolts here, and I will be back. It's still dripping away, so still do not want to take off the full clutch thing until the oil is done draining. So I just took out the Kickstarter bolt, and now there is a washer on that, so you need to make sure you keep that. Just put that over here. Okay. And then this whole assembly, the Kickstarter assembly, yours should have the Kickstarter on it. Mine just doesn't because it's broken off. It should come off. Okay. I'll put that over there as well, or put it right there. How about that? That wasn't smart. Anyways, after this is done, I got this off as well, so this should just slide right off. Now, there's going to be a gasket on the bottom here. You need to make sure you keep that. Okay, so this just goes over here, as well as the actual physical gasket. So we're just going to put that over here as well. And it's good to have a located area for all of your smaller parts like this because they will get lost. I promise you, it's happened to me, and they definitely will. So, next thing you're going to want to do is, okay, so as we can see here, our power valve is actually busted. Awesome. That is exactly what I wanted to find. Cool. So, I believe the whole power valve is actually, well, this bolt is not tight. So if we tighten that up, I don't know. I'm going to have to do some research on that because I am unfamiliar with the power valve assembly in this. I've only ever done a power valve on a YZ250. Didn't look like this at all. So hopefully power valves do not scratch the piston because that would really stink. But I'm going to need to clean all this up because this is just, I don't know. It's not good. But definitely going to have to go look that up But before I even mess with that, because this could be a whole nother video if I've lost compression, which I don't think I have, because I still do have quite a bit of compression. We're going to go ahead and take off these bolts. So you got one there, there. We got one here. This is another engine oil drain bolt. Another here, and the water pump ones were bolts that go all the way through, but you should have taken those out already. What I've come to the conclusion is there's already, like, I'm already digging into this thing so much, I might as well just go ahead and take the engine out of the motor, take the engine off the frame, and go ahead and just dig into this thing so that I can really make sure everything's good on it and clean it up, because I mean, look at it. I mean, there's just dirt and mud everywhere, and this bike could be really, really nice. It's got a lot of new parts, so I'm just thinking I might as well just take the extra step. It's only going to take about 15 minutes to take this thing out, so I'm thinking, why not? So I'm going to go ahead and just tell you guys how to do this, take this motor out, and then I'm probably going to wrap this episode up, because I don't know how long the episodes are. I've just been filming all day. Probably just going to do this all in one or 2 days, and then edit it together in multiple videos for you guys. But here we go. So first thing you're going to need to do, disconnect your gas tank if you had it on. I already took mine off. Then disconnect your intake manifold right here. So I'm just going to undo one of them. You don't need to take off the whole thing. Just undo one of them. You can then pull back your air intake boot. And I'm probably just going to, honestly, I'm probably just going to get mine out of the way. So what I'm going to do is just take this whole assembly off, this whole subframe off, swing it up. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to unhook your clutch lever, which mine doesn't work anyway, so it's not going to be that big of a problem. It doesn't actuate or anything. Finally, you're going to undo this bolt here, which is your swing arm bolt, which is the biggest bolt. It's going to be pretty difficult to get out. I recommend a punch to get that out, but if it's on a stand, which it should be, because I don't know how you're going to be holding it up and doing all this if you're not. It should be on a stand, then you can actuate the swing arm and make it a little bit easier to take it off. Next thing you're going to do is take off this bolt. Where's it at here? That bolt right there, and there's another one on the other side. Or excuse me, that one goes through to the other side. Okay, so you got that one out, and then there is one more bolt, which is right here. You're going to take that one out, and then from there on, you have this bracket here. Take just two of them out. You can swing the bracket this way. Take off this hose here, and then your axle bolt, loosen it up, pull the chain, give it some slack to take off the chain here, or you can just take off the master link, which is probably what I'm going to do, honestly, because I don't want to mess with the whole axle thing, the axle bolt there. And then from there, should lift up and out.